Greetings and salutations to everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of Drawing Science. Today's episode, we are going to learn how to draw the red-eyed tree frog. This one is a special request from my friend Kimbra, who has been participating in many of these drawing tutorials and doing amazing. So, all right, let's get started. Now, first of all, a little bit about the red-eyed tree frog. They live right here in part of Mexico. It's Mexico up here, and then they're in several countries, pretty much all the countries of Central America. Kind of stop when they get down to the South America area there. This is what we're going to be drawing today, right over here. This is what it's called, the red-eyed tree frog. Now, sometimes you might hear this thing called a red-eyed leaf frog, and that's okay. You can call it a red-eyed leaf frog if you want. They do kind of look like a leaf when they're sleeping. But, folks, this is why we call things by their scientific name in the scientific community. So, for instance, the red-eyed tree frog here is called Agalichnus calidrius. Did I say that right? Agalichnus calidrius. I think I'm saying that right. Agalichnus calidrius. Anyway, basically, this is a genus, Agalichnus, of frogs that live in this part of the world, and calidrius actually means forest or tree dryad or creature, fairy, whatever, something like that. Anyway, yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here. These are beautiful, beautiful animals, beautiful amphibians. And look, I said this on the last one. This one's going to be a little bit of a challenge, and I scared some people off. I don't want to do that to you. Hang in there. Watch it through one time. Give it a shot. You can do this. All right? And what's the worst thing that could happen? Right? What's the worst thing that can happen? If you have to, throw your paper away. Nobody will ever see it. But don't do that. Keep your work. Tuck it away. Watch how well you progress if you're not proud of something. And keep practicing. That's the key. That's the secret. People say people are born with artistic talent. Well, some people, it does come a little more natural to them than others, but the reality is the people who are really good artists out there, they've been working at it. Just like any other thing that you do, you got to practice to get better. And we're going to practice right now because this one is going to take a lot of guidelines. So if this is the first time you've watched one of these videos, I use this blue pencil to represent light pencil strokes if you're working on pencil and paper. If you're working digitally like me, then you can use whatever color you want. I like to use blue, sometimes red. For this one, I chose a nice light blue. All right, let's get started. We're going to start by drawing the head part of our frog. So that's going to be an oval, but this oval is actually going to sort of point up this way a little bit. Okay, it's not completely horizontal oval. And then we're going to do a big U. Now the U, this is important. Okay, we want to start the U right here. So it's more than half. Okay, this would be about half if I divided this in half, roughly. And this U is going to come down here. It's going to kind of go flat over here. Then it's going to come back up. Now, where is it going to connect to my oval? Almost at the top. So I'm going to curve this down just like that. Now, the frog that I draw for you right now is not going to look exactly like this guy over here. It's going to be close. I'm going to use the same basic concept, but, your frog's always going to look a little different unless you're just really trying to emulate the exact same frog. All right, so now we've got our frog body, our frog head. Let's give this frog some eyes. So this frog's going to have an eye. Now, if you look at this eyes on the frog over there, they are big, they are bulgy. This is a very cartoony frog right here. I'm going to draw a circle for that left eye. That is the left eye, right? That's his left eye. Yes, that's his left eye. And it's past this line, okay? So a good thing in art when you're drawing stuff is to draw what you see, not what you think you see. And that means making observations and measurements of where different shapes line up with other shapes. So this one is a little bit past this line right here. And then I'm going to do his other eye. And this eye is going to be kind of a half circle. And it's going to hit this eye right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to put a line right there because you can actually see this is kind of a protective cover on the back of his eye, and you can kind of see the eyeball sticking out there, right like that. Now, all right, next thing is going to be his legs. Now, he's a frog. Okay, frogs have jumping legs. This is a tree frog, which means he's good at climbing, but he can still jump. So I'm going to give this line down here to represent this plant. I'm just going to put it in right now, just this part of the line, and look how it butts up with our bottom of our oval here. This is going to help us because now I'm going to draw this shape here. It's kind of a long oval, but look how curved it is on this side. Almost pointy right there. Not quite, but almost pointy. This is his leg here. Okay, this is one of his back legs. We're just doing a simple version. I'm going to do another line. Look how I'm coming off here, and then I'm just going to go right underneath. You can get a little curve at the end going up like that. There's his leg, and then I'm going to do the other leg. Kind of do the same thing here. I'm going to start it. Look where I'm starting it. Again, look, imagine this line coming down here. Look at this space in here. Compare things like that when you're drawing your lines. That's how you make accurate drawings, and that's how you understand how to draw what you see and not what you think you see. Because our mind likes to connect dots and make pictures. And sometimes those are not all that accurate when you're trying to reproduce something in a drawing. So draw what's there, not what you think is there. There's a lot of exercises you can do to do that. One good exercise that you can do if you want to practice drawing is to draw stuff and from a reference, but turn your reference upside down. Then it looks strange to you, so you're not necessarily just filling in the gaps. You're actually looking at all those lines. Where do they go? All right, now on to the front legs. Okay, this one is going to come down below the chinny chin chin right here, and I'm going to draw a little tube for the upper arm here. Then this is kind of almost a triangle coming down here. Probably should have made that a little longer. You can make yours a little longer if you want. I'll fix it when I do my hard pencil lines. And then I'm just going to give it a little curve right there, like a little pyramid shape. Okay. Now the other one, this next one, it's going to come off of our oval right here, down a little bit. Actually, I'm going to fix that right now because I made that a little too far over. Okay, this is what you do. This is why you do it light pencil lines. I'm going to come down right below here a little bit. I want this space here. Okay, that's important because we're going to put that pattern in. I want to have room for that pattern. So we're going to bring this down. Now, I'm going to make this about the same length as this one over here because they should kind of match. They are arms. Arms are usually about the same size on the same critter. All right, there we go. All right, we've got the basics of our frog already. Now, the toes, here's how I do the toes, okay? These frogs have like 4 toes in the front. And I'm just going to draw radiating lines coming out. See that? Radiating lines. Same thing on the other foot here. Okay, there we go. And we'll fill in the toes. We'll fill in the toes a little bit. Let's focus on the nose, though. Now, I'm going to give this frog a little bit of a hard stop on the end of his nose. A little squared off nose there. Look how it juts out a little bit. This is his top lip. Now, frogs, I don't know, they to me, they always look like they're kind of frowning. But if I just made this like one line, you could do that. It looks more toadish to me, actually, if I do that. But I want to give it a little more interest. So I'm going to actually kind of vary it a little bit. This is also going to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. What I mean by that is like this line is twisting around this animal. And look how it kind of almost lines up with the arm. How about that? All right, now, bottom lip jutting out here, just like that. And then this, I'm just going to emphasize there. And we'll get that all patched up when we do our solid lines. Let's get those toes done. All right, so for the toes, this is the middle of the toe in most cases. So I'm going to put a little circle on the end because these are tree frogs. Okay, so tree frogs are good at climbing, and they have these sticky toe pads that they use for climbing. And actually, I'm using this as like kind of one of the sides of the toe. But by drawing these guidelines out here, it's a lot easier than just trying to draw the toes directly. Okay, and I'm going to clean these up when I do my more permanent lines here. for now, that's good. That's all I need. I'm not going to worry about the lines down here. I'll get to that with my other drawings. I do want to put an ear in here. And I'm already going to kind of bring this up. See that? I want to bring this up a little bit. And I'm going to maybe indicate his little nostril here. And there's a little line because they have kind of the squared off schnoz. And I'm going to do his pattern a little bit. And that'll help me too to see where I need to fix stuff. So these tree frogs, they have a beautiful pattern. And it's this kind of bright yellow on here. And here's the way I do it. I do this main line, and then I kind of do these little bars here. And the good thing about these, they don't have to be perfect. They're different on different frogs. So, you don't have to worry about it too much. It's going to look okay. It's going to be all right. Okay, we'll do another one. You kind of see this one over here. Maybe just a little bit of an indication right there. And we'll also indicate his eyeball. And real red-eyed tree frogs don't have this eyelid that looks quite as droopy, but I kind of liked it for my cartoon frog. And then I'm going to do his pupil. Now, red-eyed tree frogs are nocturnal. That means they're nighttime animals, and they have this cat-type pupil shape, this oblong pupil, and that allows them to open that up brighter, or bigger, I should say, so they can get more of that light in, so they can see better at night. I'm just going to emphasize that a little bit there as well. There we go. I think we got our general frog shape. I might bring this line over here. See how I'm kind of just making these fixes now? I could tweak this some more, but I don't want to make this video go too long, so I'm going to jump right in to our hard pencil lines. And by that I mean you guys, if you're using a pencil at home, this is when you would go to darker lines. I'm going to go to drawing in black on another layer. Make sure I do. Yeah, I'm on another layer. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's get started here. And one thing you can do to help you out, let me do that before I go any further. I'm going to erase some of these lines already, just because they're in my way. They're confusing. These are guidelines, and some of them I don't need. And I might accidentally trace right over those. And by erasing these, it'll just make everything a little bit easier to understand. You don't have to do that. You're going to have to erase them at some point, I guess. But there we go. That's pretty good. All right, now let's go ahead on to our harder line. So we got our frog. Now we really want to get this frog in its permanent line. So I'm going to, I'm just going to carefully start to render my frog. There we go. Get his mouth in here. Now frogs are amphibians. And if you're an amphibian, it means that you are an egg-laying animal that goes through something called metamorphosis. Your eggs are typically laid in the water. There are some exceptions to that. And then you start your life as a tadpole or some sort of water-breathing critter. So besides frogs and toads, there are also things like salamanders and newts and some stranger things like amphiumas and things like that, sirens, which are salamanders really more or less. But but they all have that characteristic where they start, or most of them I should say, there definitely are exceptions. They start in the water, end up on land. Even the ones that don't start in the water still go through metamorphosis in some way. Okay, you just have to do that if you're going to be an amphibian. That's a requirement. You got to do that. Without that, you cannot be in the amphibian group. Now, being an amphibian also means that your skin is very thin. Typically, it's very thin, and in the case of frogs and salamanders and newts, it's very porous. So water goes in, water comes out. In fact, there are some amphibians that can just drink and even breathe right through their skin. And most amphibians start with gills and then end up with lungs. There are some that keep gills their whole life, and then there are some that lose the gills and don't get any lungs, and they just breathe through their skin. So that's part of being an amphibian. Now you hear about toads. Toads are similar to frogs. One of the general differences with toads is that they are usually in drier habitats, and they, in order to survive in those drier habitats, they have to have thicker skin because otherwise they would lose all that water. Because remember, the water's going out as well as going in, and they would just dry up really fast. So they'll have thicker skin, which is usually kind of lumpy, and so that's why you hear people say that toads are bumpy and frogs are smooth, and that is generally true. Of course, there are exceptions, but and some toads, most true toads, in fact, um, they even have special poison glands, and some of those bumps are poison glands that they can use it as a defense. But mostly those bumps, they just make their skin thicker, so they don't lose water. It allows them to live in places where most frogs, could not live. All right, now I feel like these pencil lines are going to be pretty sloppy because it's hard for me to see over this blue line, but that's okay because I can kind of fix them up a little bit more when I'm done here if I want to. This is where I say, if you're doing regular pencil, you can go over your lines a little bit darker and then erase them again, or you can go over them dark and then trace onto another paper. But here's what I'm going to do. Actually, I don't need these guidelines for all these, so I'm going to get the basic shapes here. What I'm looking at, here's their toes. Okay. I'm just gonna put this, I'm just gonna do the circles. Look at this. I'm just do the circles on the toes. Just so I know about where I have those circles. I can figure out where to draw that line. I'm gonna kind of rough in this line a little bit here for the top of this leaf that this frog is sitting on. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my eraser and I'm gonna erase away these blue lines. Like that. Kind of eraser do I have here? I need a bigger eraser than that. Now, if you're wondering, I'm using a program on the iPad called Procreate. This is a wonderful program. iPad has a lot of great art programs. If you have the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, you can get pressure sensitivity, which is super important for digital art. And the iPad Pro is not cheap, but it is, I think, a better alternative for your pocketbook than maybe investing in like a Wacom Cintiq or something like that where you can draw on the screen. Now, those are great products. I'm not knocking them, but those are really expensive. And this iPad is not that bad. People say the iPad Pro is expensive. It is, but for a digital art tool, the only thing you can do that's cheaper is just to have one of those tablets that, like a Wacom tablet, or there's some other brands. Wacom's not too expensive for these, where you actually draw on the tablet, like on your desktop, and then it appears on the screen. I was never able to adjust to those, to be honest. I never gave them a huge chance, but and a lot of people do. Okay, so don't be afraid of that option, but I like drawing on the screen, and that's where technology is going. There are a lot of uh, hardware out there now that lets you draw on the screen with pressure sensitivity, but Wacom is great at it. They're the standard, and then there are a few imitators out there now of Wacom products that are a little more affordable, and they're doing a pretty good job. Not sure they're at Wacom's level yet. And then the Apple iPad Pro came along, and in my opinion, just blew Wacom out of the water. Just not as big as some of the big Wacom tablets, but yeah. And now that the software is catching up on the iPad, I don't know. I am a fan of the iPad Pro for artwork. I've tried a lot of different hardware, and I'm just a fan. I'm also a fan of a good old pencil and paper, which is a way more affordable way to create artwork. So, don't feel discouraged if you can't do digital art, because you can do art on a paper and pencil. So, all right, now I got most of the frog here, but I'm going to get this pattern in. Okay, there's that curvy line. Get these ridges here. Make this one curve a little more. Make this one a little funky over here. There we go. Just connect these here. This would be the yellow part. You can see how I kind of colored my frog, the one to the left. I'll kind of show where those lines are. Red-eyed tree frogs have a lot of really pretty colors. Now, when they're sleeping, this blue on their side and the orange on their feet and the red in their eyes is all covered up, and they just look like little leaves. And then when they're awake, you can see all these beautiful colors. And this is helpful to them because they're really good at camouflage. But let's say that a predator comes along. Well, it's kind of like a warning color. All right, I'm just going to shade this pupil, and I'm not going to color this frog. You can see how the other one's colored over there, but I am just going to do that right there. And maybe I'll also, maybe I'll give him, erase a little highlight in here like I did on the other one there, just to give him a little life. Boom. Did I forget anything? Let me take a look. Sometimes I forget stuff on these, and then I don't, oh yeah, I forgot to draw the rest of my leaf. So this is just another drawing through here. Another drawing. It's another line through here, and then just going to come down with some texture on our leaf. Very good. All right, there we have it. The red-eyed tree frog in all of its glory. If you shade it, you can shade this line in a little bit more. You can just draw it in like I did there. And yeah, cool animals. Look for some pictures of these guys. Draw them. Get some practice drawing them. You'll be fine. You can do it. Post your pictures down below. Or there's a Facebook page as well as a Facebook group, Drawing Science. And go there. Join the community. We're going to try and build a community of people that can look at each other's artwork and show off your progress and help each other grow. It's going to be pretty cool. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that little bell so you know whenever I post a new video. And with all that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.